Good morning, gorgeous humans. Happy Friday the 13th. Welcome to the morning show. Good morning. How are you feeling? I'm your host, Marli Ansel, at Marli Ansel on the Instagrams. And we're here for a Friday episode on a very special Friday, Friday the 13th. And today we're talking about how every new level, every new chapter is going to require a new version of you. So today we're going to talk about what that looks like, what you must be aware of. And by the end of the video, you are going to completely understand why it is absolutely necessary for you to step into this new version of you, why this new version of you is actually more of who you are than what the old version is, and in how it's absolutely necessary for you to fully take ownership of where it is that you want to go. So let's dive in. But before we do, can we talk about Friday the 13th for a second? Okay. So in our culture, in the US and society, Friday the 13th is like Michael's Day, right? Friday the 13th is like scary Halloween. Good morning, Chris. Hello. But what it actually is, so Friday is named after the goddess Freya. And 13 is actually the goddess number. It is the number of the divine feminine. So without getting too much into the history of it, way back when, when our lovely patriarchy birthed its roots, I don't know what I'm saying here. A lot of what was dedicated to the goddess, to the feminine aspect of God, was abolished, shut down. Temples that were built in honor of the feminine energy, the divine feminine, were burned down, were deconstructed, and people were being persecuted for continuing their beliefs in the feminine aspect of God. So Friday the 13th, somewhere along the way, got a little rearranged into something that was evil, something that was bad, something you should avoid. But it is actually a portal for the divine feminine energy that exists in all of us. The divine feminine is our creation power. It is, in layman's terms, it's manifestation, but it is the energy that creates worlds behind the masculine structure, take action, put things into place. So without the feminine, you do not have the power of sovereignty over the creation of your own life. And this was kind of the motivation behind the abolishment of it. Because if everyone knew that you could create your own world, that you have sovereignty over your own experience, and that no one has power over you, well, that didn't really give the church much power, did it? So we won't go too deep into that. But what is beautiful to know is that it is actually a very magical day. There's so much energy here for you, and it is nothing but good things that can arrive on a portal day like this. I love this. Chris said Friday the 13th is a great day. My daughter was born on Friday the 13th. Goddess vibes. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's dive in. Today, we're talking about how every new chapter will require a different version of you. Now, this is such a huge energy. And, we see like YouTube videos about this. Like, you've got to like step into the new version of you. And it's all very motivational. And that's beautiful and that's wonderful. And there's place for it. But it is, in fact, 100% true. Every new chapter of your life, if you can kind of look at your entire life as like a series of chapters in the story of you, you can look back and you can see like, oh, very distinctly, that was a chapter of my life and now it's done. And then you can see another one that was a chapter of your life and then it closed out. So the reason that we see it like this is not just because like it's a fun way that our mind works. I mean, it is. But the reason that we see it like this is that it is, in fact, like a book-ended block of time where it's almost like each chapter was a different past life. This is the kind of the way that you can think about it. And in each chapter, it was a different version of you that was living and experiencing it. Amen. Can you kind of look back and see that? How, like, who you were in your last chapter is not even kind of who you are now, is it? There might be like some aspects that are like always there, the truth of who you are, but every single version of you, it's almost like you can look back and you're looking at a past life. You're looking at a different version of you. That's not who I am anymore. I don't exist there anymore. That version of me exists there, but this version of me does not exist there. So when you're thinking about it, I want you to think like, we talk about floors in the building. Floors in the building, I want you to think about like a whole empire, like a whole skyscraper building. And every floor is a different version of reality. And every version of reality is going to require a different version of you in order to exist there. So once one version of reality, one chapter of your life has closed, you have evolved to a new version of reality. You've evolved to a new version of you. This is the whole point, by the way. It's like leveling up in the game, like every time that we close out a chapter, we got our lessons from that. We allowed the challenges to level us up in a way that we never could have leveled up without the challenges. We allow ourselves to move on from one chapter of life to a new chapter of life. But here's the thing. Have you ever been in one chapter of life and known that chapter was complete, but you held on to it? Oh, have you ever been in one chapter and thought, this is done, and I know it's done, like, deep down, you know it in you, like, it's complete, but you're trying to hold on to it? You ever been in a relationship that you knew was over, but you stayed in it? You ever been in a job that you knew you should have left months ago, but you didn't leave it? Yeah, you know what I mean, right. Now, let me ask you this. Every time that, because we've all done it, right? No shame in the game. We've all done it. But every time that you've done that, did it end well? Oh, hell no. Right? It never ends well. And the reason for this is that not only does your life happen in chapters, but those chapters have a finite ending. And that's not something you have control over. Now, this is part of where that surrender piece comes in because we have a timeline of life that we're meant to walk. We are meant to live out. And each chapter of that timeline has a finite amount of time. It has the oh my and there we go. Every chapter has a finite amount of time and it has a very distinct ending. Before its ending, you start getting signs. You do. If you even have an ounce of intuition, there is going to be nudges of like, you're going to need to move on. This is ending. You're going to have a new thing start. You need to let this go. You're done here. Your time is done here. Like these little nudges that warn you the chapter's coming to an end. And it happens every single time. And if you're honest with yourself, you can look back and see every chapter and how it happened. Now, the thing is that sometimes we're more attached to our chapters than we are to others. Like there's been times where you've left a chapter of life and it was no problem. You were like, good riddance, done. See you later. Bye. Like you're not worried about it. You might not even have awareness of it. And that's when we move through these natural evolutions of our identity, these natural shifts from one level to another. But when we have attachments, it creates a very clunky experience. So when we have so ego attachments always come from the ego. The ego says, I have to have it like this, though. No, and I have to have that person. And I have to have this job because of this. And no, I should do it this way because I have to do it this way. Because if I don't do it this way, then blah, 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 blah. Right. We have all of these attachments from our ego. And what will happen is if you try to force your way to work, life will get harder, more sufferable, more difficult. So the more that you hold back in going to that new level, the more that you try to stay in the level you're in and make it work, the more difficult life gets. Now, it's not like to punish you. It is literally saying there's a whole new level you have to go to. Like, there is no option to stay in the old level. If you stay in the old level, you will start to die. Now, I know that sounds like extreme, but truly, it's really kind of what it is. And it's not like you're going to start physically dying, but your energy is going to start like getting lower and a lower vibration. You're going to feel as though this is our, how we talk about like, I feel like my soul is dying. It's like that. It's like you're not actually dying, but it's the feeling of there's no vibrancy, there's no energy. Chris says, I'm there right now. Okay. So you've got to look at what do I have to let go of? I got to let go. There's things you're holding on to that you think it has to be this way, or you think you have to make it forced into a certain kind of way that you think it has to be, or you're holding on because you're afraid of the let go. You're afraid of what it actually means in stepping into the new level. You have to let go. The new is calling you. It's calling you forward. And that new chapter is not going to look like anything that you expect. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to look like how you think it's going to look. You might have a little bit of some inklings of like what it feels like when you're in those moments of clarity, when you're in those moments of just that purity and that love and that like, oh, you might have some like little inkling understandings of it. It's going to blow your mind. It's not going to be anything that you think you know about. So you have to let go all of your reasons, all of your judgments, all of your attachments. But it's scary, right? It's scary to let it go. Identity shifts, if you can think about this, like when you're letting go of what was, you are letting go of a certain version of you. Now, that version of you might not be the best version of you. Okay. Let's just be real. It might not be the best version of you, but you have an attachment to it as you. So I want you to think about it like this. When you let go of an identity shifts are like letting go of an old car that you really loved. You know what I mean? Like, it's time to let it go. You know that the car's been breaking down. The car's been giving you problems for months now. Like, it's time to let it go. You can't really push that car to get any more miles on it. You can't make it take you all the way through to the next chapter sustainably. You know it's not going to work, right? But there's an attachment. Right? There's an attachment, there's sadness with letting it go because even though you're so over all the problems it's been giving you, you love that car. You got some good things with that car. Even the like frustrating moments, like you can look back and they sort of feel like that nostalgia kind of thing. It's scary to let go because we're only consciously aware of what we're letting go of. We don't yet have the awareness of what we're going to gain. And so when we go to let go, it feels like you're losing something. It feels like you're giving something up. But in actuality, what you're doing is moving into a new chapter. You're moving into a new level. You're moving into new magic and it's gonna be beautiful because the truth of the matter is that the old chapter's ending and the new chapter's beginning whether you're ready for it or not. Whether you like it or not. This is what's happening. And your only job in this is to have conscious self-awareness of where you are making your life sufferable by attaching to the old, by thinking, by thinking that you know better, that you know what's going to keep you safe, that you know what's going to work out for you, that you know how life should go. Can you, like, if we just get really real with ourselves about this kind of stuff, like, How egoic of us, right? How like just blindly cocky of us that we're like, no, I no, God, I know you have a plan for my life, but I know better. So I'm going to keep this. I'm going to attach to it and I'm going to try to make it work. Right? I'm going to try to force it to be my way. And what's happening is we're not conscious of this, right? And this is why I come on and I teach and I preach and all of that. Yes, Chris, preach. Oh my God, my car broke down today. See, God, God speaking. So we're not conscious of it because we're just operating in fear. And that's what we've really got to get aware of. Because if I'm operating in fear, I'm always keeping myself stuck. If I'm operating in fear, I'm always keeping myself stuck. There is no let me push in my fear hard enough to break free into freedom. You feel me on that? Like, there's just not. So when you're in this, like, I'm afraid to let go, and so I'm attaching harder to the old level, the image that I've always received around this is like, life has a flow, right? Life has a flow. And if you allow that flow to guide you, it will take you exactly where you need to go and in the fastest, most beautiful way possible. It will. This is how it's all designed. But if you don't trust it, because we have shit happen to us in life that cause us to have some trust issues, you know? Yeah. But if you don't trust it and you don't allow the flow to take you, it's like, those huge water slides at water parks? It's like deciding you're going to get on that water slide. And if you can surrender and let go and allow the flow to just flow you on down, it will take you exactly where you've been wanting to go, lightning fast. But when we're attached to the old level, when we're attached to staying at the top of the slide, it's like we get in the slide and then we're holding on to the sides. And we're like, nope, mm-mm, mm-mm. I gotta take the top of the slide. I gotta take that platform. I gotta get back on that platform. I know I want to go there, but I want to stay on the platform. So can I go there while staying on the No, you can't. Well, but like I can't let go of that because I was up really high. Like it was fine. It was good. It was like, well, but you asked to go here. And so meanwhile, the flow is underneath you, knocking you around, and you're like, can I stay though? This is the image that comes for me anytime I talk about attachment and surrender, because life is made to carry you exactly where you want to go. By the way, life knows where you want to go better than you do because you've got conscious wounds that say, I need that though to be worthy. And I need it to go like this in order to be valid. And I need this person so I can feel loved. Like we have conscious attachments that are minuscule in comparison to what life and the divine has set up for us. So our job is not, hear me on this, our job is not to try to control life. You can't. You can't control the flow of life. You can't. Your job is to be consciously self-aware to where life is trying to take you. It's to be so consciously self-aware of when you're attaching, trying to fix something in your life, trying to force it to be something different than it is. And to allow yourself to say, you know what? Maybe I don't know better than life. Maybe I don't know better than the divine. Maybe what I'm attaching to is actually what's keeping me stuck in this experience that I've been trying to get out of forever. You feel me on that? So, in the moments of letting go, You can only see what you're letting go of, which is why it makes it so scary. You can't see what's at the end of the water slide. You can't see that it's everything you ever wanted and more beyond what you could ever experience. You don't have awareness of that yet. You only have awareness that life is asking you to let go of where you are so that it can flow you. And so that moment is scary and it requires trust. It requires trust in that deep moment of intuitive clarity where you can feel where you're meant to be in life. You know that feeling, like you can see it in your mind sometimes where you're just like, I know that's the life I'm supposed to have. I can feel it, I can see it. You've got to trust in that vision that you have deep inside of you. You've got to trust that your guidance is taking you in the right direction. You've got to trust that life's trying to flow you because we have such narrow views of reality. I used to teach this all the time. I'm having so many flashback memories to like the first round of the Lightworker Society and the teachings that I have in there. We have such a narrow scope of reality, which is why we think we know. It's like we're looking through something that's like this big and we're calling that all of reality. And we're like, no, 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 because I can see this. So I need that. That's what I have to have. But in actuality, reality is infinite and massive. And we don't have that conscious awareness, but we think we know everything, you know? And so you're only conscious of what you can see. The part of you that is the unconscious, that is the like infinite, that is the I feel and I know, even though I can't consciously see, that part of you is guiding you all the time. But it's up to, we have free will. It's up to you if you're going to listen to it. It's up to you if you're going to choose to listen to the infiniteness that's guiding you, or if you're going to choose to listen to the fear and survival part of you. It's fine. You can do either one. But the fear and survival part of you is just going to keep you looping where you are. And that's part of the mechanism too. It's kind of like a safety catch. You know, you're going to like just stay where you are and you're going to loop. Shit's going to get harder. It's going to get clunkier. And it's attempting to move you out of it. It's trying to get, so think about it like this. You're afraid to let go and move into the new level, right? And then you have attachments to the old level. So the more I'm attached to the old level and I don't go with the flow, that was fun. I don't go with the flow where the universe and the divine and life is trying to take me. Okay. This attachment is going to get clunkier and clunkier and clunkier so that this energy here becomes more painful than your fear of letting go of it. Because we're always either running away from pain or running towards what feels good. And we're much more programmed to run away from pain. Okay. So if I fear where I'm going and that fear is bigger than the pain of staying the same, I'm going to stay the same. And so the way this mechanism of our life is set up is that the pain of staying the same, the longer you stay there, it's going to get bigger. This looks like life breaking down, money breaking down, health breaking down, relationships breaking down. It's going to, because it's literally a chapter that was supposed to end. So it's going to start breaking down, like literally disintegrating away. It's going to get more painful and more painful and more painful the longer you stay there and the longer you hold on to it, until there's nothing there. Everything that you were attached to is now gone. And you will find people who still stay there. You got to let go. It's attempting to make this chapter so painful that it forces you to let go. But you don't have to do that, is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to wait for that. The moment that you sense things are ending, just let go. You feel me on this? Just let go. You don't have to force anything to happen. You don't have to make things like pushed into place. You just got to let go. Let's see. Can you live a happy life knowing every kid? Oh gosh, I'm not here to live in a castle and I've not been sick since I've awakened. So I'm not here to live in a castle. You're gonna have to give me some more details on what you're asking exactly there. But everything comes back to our own personal experience of reality. There's a lot going on in the world, and there's a lot going on in the world that we don't have. Oh, poisoned. It's tough. It really is tough. So here's what I'm going to tell you on that. Your vibration and where you choose to live personally has a direct effect on every single being in the world. And because we're all connected. You know what I mean? And I know that that's like such a big concept for like our human, you know what I mean? But the more think about it like this, the more power you cultivate inside of you, the more that you can build your personal reality, the more that you can have a physical effect on the world. So we've got, and we're getting into a lot of like, we can get into a lot of belief systems here, but I'm just going to give you the overarching. The more power that you feel within yourself, the more that you feel you can influence things around you, the more that you can build something where you are prospering in a financial way in our world. The more money you make, the more that you can do in this world to shift it on a physical plane. But the cultivation of happy, connected to the divine, the more that you have that, the more power and influence you have to shift this world into good. There's a lot of bullshit out there. Like, there's a lot of bullshit out there, but we don't do anything to change the bullshit by staying in that, like, stuck, I'm unhappy and I can't do anything about it and I feel bad for everybody in the world. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There is only I've gotta choose my reality, and then I've gotta build it so big that it pushes out all of the evil, all of the nasty lower vibrational stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? So, like, we can't help anybody if we're just feeling sorry for ourselves. We can't help anybody while we're just mad at the world. Like, we've got to choose our power, choose our light, and go, excuse me, go flip and do something about it. Like, we can't just sit in our living rooms and be upset. You know what I mean? Like, go do something about it then. Like, build your life so big that you can't be ignored. You feel me on that? Erica said, I've always said that on Friday the 13th is good luck day. Yeah, 100%. It's a good vibe today. Good vibe today. Okay. I hear you, but it wasn't the masses' fault. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but we can do something about it. You know what I mean? Like, we've been trained to believe that we can't, but it's not true. It's not true. If think about it like that. If every single human who walked the planet understood the power that exists within them to build their own personal reality to create a difference in this world, be a whole different world. Be a whole different because we're the majority. The masses are the majority, you know? We've just been trained into that fear-based reality. Okay. So you've got to trust that everything that you're letting go of, including emotionality, like, because we can get really attached to our sadness. We can get really attached to being angry. We can get really attached to feeling victim. We can get really attached to these things, these parts of ourselves. So we have to trust that everything that you're letting go of will be replaced for with a bigger, higher energy, will be replaced with something more beyond what you could ever imagine. You know what I mean? And I'm feeling the real big nudge here to talk about like if you've been through some shit. Because a lot of times when we go through shit, like we get trauma in our body, number one, we've got to do the healing work around that. But we can get attached to that feeling that keeps us small. It's almost like, but if I let it go, then it means that I'm forgiving it. Or if I let it go, then it means like justice won't be done. If I let it go, then it means whatever it is that you're making it mean. We have to really, really get conscious of what I'm holding on to that's keeping me at that same lower vibration because it's that lower vibration that you're trying to leave, but there's an attachment there. And so we have to trust that if I let it go, it's actually gonna be resolved in a way I could never imagine. If I let it go, I'm gonna feel the liberation. Because anytime that we attach to something, we are also we're strengthening our relationship to it. Like that's just something we've got to come back to all the time. This looks like even the simplest thing, like you have something that goes wrong in your life and you want to fix it. Every time you try to fix what you think is wrong, you're strengthening your relationship to it. It's just going to get bigger. So we have to let go and then turn towards what do I prefer? What do I actually want for my life? But there's a moment where it's very scary, even though you don't like it, even though you don't want that energy in your life, even though you're like, get rid of it, get it out. There's fear in letting go of it because again, you're conscious of what you're letting go of and this feels like the abyss. But what am I actually stepping into? It could be scarier. I know I don't like my trauma, but it's familiar and it feels safe. So when we're in this transition, this is where that real trust work with yourself and with whatever higher power you talk to comes in. Because I've got to get real with myself and I've got to really just ask myself the question. My choices are I can either repeat what I've been existing in and know that it's really just going to get harder and harder, or I can let it go and I can move towards what I actually want for my life. At the end of the day, it just comes down to choice. Everything that you are experiencing in your life, everything that you're holding on to, everything that you keep perpetuating, everything you keep giving energy to, that's a choice. And whatever you give energy to, it's going to amplify, it's going to get bigger. So if I'm giving energy to my feelings of fear and victimhood and scarcity and what happened in the past, it's going to get bigger. It's going to get strengthened because your energy amplifies whatever you focus on, whatever you give it to. So it's a conscious choice of pulling that energy back. It's a conscious choice of deciding what do I want to create? What do I want to create for my life? And putting it into something that's actually going to create the level of life you want to see. It's going to create the level of awakening and consciousness that you want to see around you. It's going to create that beautiful level of life that you can feel inside of you exists somewhere, but you've got to choose it. Amen. All right. So every new chapter holds magic, but the only way that you're going to find out what it has for you is if you let go of the old one. And you're going to be forced to let it go anyway. You know what I mean? Like you're going to be forced eventually to let it go anyway. So if we want to create a smooth level, like a smooth flow of reality as much as we possibly can, our job is to be very conscious of what I'm attached to, what I'm emotionally attaching to, what I'm physically attaching to, what I'm energetically attaching to, and just let go. Easier said than done, obviously. But the more consciously aware you are of that, the more that you're able to do it in a way that feels like ease, in a way that feels like flow. It doesn't mean that like you still won't have those moments. I still have them all the time, and ones that I'm not even conscious of. And then suddenly I'll realize it. And I'm like, oh my God, I have been holding on to this so hard. Why? Like, why? And every single time that I have chosen surrender, the moment I choose it, I every single time, I wonder why it took me so long to do that. Because it's every time it's beautiful, every time it's good, every time it takes me somewhere further than I could have ever imagined. It's not always easy, but it is the way. It is always the way. Oh, I love that. I fly through the stars when I close my eyes and remember. That's so beautiful. So beautiful. All right, my loves, that's a wrap. Have a beautiful weekend. I love you so, so much. I will be here. We'll be back here Monday for another episode, live episode of the morning show. Have a beautiful weekend, and I will see you all next week. Bye, loves. Goodbye.